Steve Madden. Welcome into the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. This is episode 128. I'm your host, the Mayor, Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys so much for checking out our show. Before we get started with the movie discussion, we have to go around, as always, and meet the fellow bros. First, we go into the lab to the mad scientist, Brian Banner. Now, Banner, scientifically speaking, how many glasses of this wine would I have to drink to get my blood alcohol content higher than my average GPA in college?
Is that a weighted GPA?
I don't think that would help. I don't think I took classes that would even...
You should probably just drink the whole bottle just to be safe.
Okay. I think anything over like 0.5, though, we'd be pretty much good.
So it is a weighted GPA.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right, it is. And next, we go into the paint to our enforcer, Matt Geiger. Now, Matt, I have to ask, with football season starting, and obviously you know I work with our youth in the field of sports, where would you say the line is that the parent of a middle school athlete should not cross?
I mean, I have to ask you what line you're talking. There's a lot of lines in football. There's the goal line. There's the offensive line. They're the lines that, Michael Irvin and LT would snort before and after the games. So there's a lot of lines that should be maybe not crossed and should not be snorted. So I'd have to maybe ask you for a more in-depth conversation on what line you mean.
I'm sorry. Michael Irvin is a man of God.
Yeah, now. That's what's great. That's what's great about it. You could literally do whatever you want. He actually had a house called the White House where he just took hookers, which was weird because it's in Dallas. Like, you'd think he'd do that on the road. But he's given himself up to God, so all's forgiven. Doesn't matter.
Do you think God is ever like, no. These people come to him.
Like, people like winners. God likes winners. And the Cowboys in the 90s were winners. So
I'm not saying you have to go to hell. You just can't come here.
I always just think of Aldous Snow, like, oh, right, because of God and everything. Michael Irvin's like, no, man.
Finish this fight.
Finish this fight!
His cameo at the Broskers, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, absolutely took me by surprise. I did not know. I don't know if I would call it an impression in your repertoire, but it was like you channeled some spirit animal within you. It felt like in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, when they all get their new animal Zords from Dulcia, it felt like you were getting Michael Irvin.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Okay. Well, if you guys have not listened to our show before, or even if you have, we start every episode with the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is a topic called our chest day. So, our chest day today will actually be our fourth in a series of these called our Movie Month Bro-Offs. Essentially, what we do here is pick 2 months in the history of time and match up the top 3 movies at the box office against one another to see which wins 2 out of the 3 matchups and is the superior month. Now, Banner, I'm sorry because I know you're working and tweaking in the lab. Do you want to explain the scoring, or do you just want me to?
How do I sound?
You sound terrific now.
Okay. How do I look? Is my hair okay?
You sound great.
Okay. So this is our movie month bro-off thing. I think, Jeff, did you say this is our 4th one?
I believe so. This will be
4th. So this is where we take 2 months out of a year, or 2 separate months. I think we capped it at 1990.
Yeah, I believe so.
From 1990 to present day, and we pit them against each other. For example, we took 2 Decembers, I believe it was like 94 and 98 maybe, and pitted them against each other. We grade them on several criteria. First is box office. Second, we go to you, the people, because you guys rate things on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, and Letterboxd. And then if we still are tied at the end of that, you guys get what we all know you want, and that's our opinion. So today we are doing the 2 highest grossing movies in the history of movies, and that is December of 2009 and April of 2019. And we'll get to the top movies in a moment. We're going to go reverse order and start with the 3rd movie of that month.
So place your bets now. There's some interesting props on this one. I would take the over on box office gross. And if you've watched Uncut Gems, you have to bet on the tip-off, obviously.
Obviously.
You don't have... and that has to be part of the parlay. So if you don't get it, you're already fucked. Like
I love how
in 2 seconds.
I love how he mentions that, like, and obviously.
Oh, we'd be fucked if we wouldn't have got that, but we got it. That's such a great. That's.
He's got the dude fucking caged up, like explaining his betting to him. All right, Matt, why don't you explain the first 2 movies matching up again? One is representing December 2009. The other is representing April 2019. These are third place at the box office, and then you can go through the first point awarded, which is which one actually made more money in the United States.
All right, December 2009 is Sherlock Holmes, and is taking on April 2019 Pet Sematary. So, first off, let's go to Pet Sematary.
No, first off, why is Pet Sematary being released in April?
Because
why?
It's a scary movie. It's an October movie.
Why wouldn't a Halloween movie come out in the spring? I don't understand.
Everyone's always thinking about fall in April before summer.
That's once it starts to get warm and sundresses come out, you're thinking, man, I wish it was cold as shit again.
And this is just domestically. If you want it I don't look it up yourself. This was easier for us. So Pet Sematary, $54,724,699 doll hairs.
Not bad though.
Versus,
for a horror movie in April.
I mean, you could tip your hat on that for what it is. I'd be fine with that. Whatever.
And it's a remake.
John Carter's like, fuck, how'd you make that much money?
Sherlock Holmes, December 2009, Christmas movie in the Christmas season. They're probably having big hopes for this for some reason. $209 million, $28,675. Just destroyed Pet Sematary.
I actually really, really like the Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. I know some people were like, you're really not even going to cast a British actor as like our fucking greatest contribution to the world as far as a fictitious character, but that's what the Americans do. We're like, we'll give you Jude Law as Watson. They're like, well, Ella, that's a little bit right, still not quite there. People forget Rachel McAdams is in this thing.
It's a pretty good. Did they make 2 or 3 of them?
What was Hugh Grant doing at the time?
It might have been one of those stints where
Really
he was like,
blow off a hooker's ass.
I mean, you could do that in your trailer in between scenes and still be in this movie.
Yeah, as Zac Efron. It's very easy to do.
Come on. Vanessa Hudgens was not a hooker.
I think Pet Sematary would have doubled their money if they would have came out in December.
Agreed.
Or
the
October,
like Banner said.
Yeah, the original was like a cult classic. This one had Jason Clarke from Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That's the second one?
Yeah.
Second one, Dawn. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the second one.
They don't make sense. So if you
have them
make sense, then flip them.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the last one's War.
Yeah, and then John Lithgow. John Lithgow's in it.
Love me some Lithgow.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was cast well. It was kind of a cult classic, but again, man, it's like pick the time of the year where I'm least interested in seeing a scary movie, and it's probably April. So Sherlock Holmes up 1-0. Banner, what did the internet think about these two?
Okay, so we're going to go IMDb first. Now, obviously, we have 3 different internet websites, so you have to win 2 of the 3 to get this point. IMDb first, Pet Sematary, April 2019, 5.8. Again, not bad for a horror movie coming out in April, and it's a remake of not a great other horror movie.
Right.
But it still got destroyed by Sherlock Holmes. 7.6. That's pretty good.
I can never tell what's the strictest. I feel like Rotten Tomatoes is really like polarizing in terms of how strict people are. But IMDb sometimes is just a bloodbath. Maybe I just disagree with the people on there, but I always would rate something higher than it is on IMDb. So if I see a 7.6, that's like pretty much a perfect film. The way IMDb just crucifies things.
Christmas movies always get a pass too. I mean, if you have a wife and kids and you're going somewhere that you get 2 hours of peace and quiet, you're probably going to give it at least an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, or if you can go while they
Christmas
shop
season.
and you don't have to get back and forth between all the
like, yeah, it was fine.
It was existing. Well, again, Sherlock Holmes, I liked it a lot. I think it was kind of a pleasant surprise. And of course, this was during like the Downaissance, like Iron Man came out the year before. So everybody was really loving themselves some RDJ. And for Rotten Tomatoes, do we do critic or audience score? I can't remember.
Honestly, let's cross that bridge when it gets there. It's not going to fucking matter for this matchup.
Yeah.
It's not even fucking close. We've got Sherlock Holmes, 70% critic and 77% audience. Pretty linear there. And then Rotten Tomatoes for Pet Sematary, critics 57%, audience 34%. Very rarely do you find the audience has a lower score than the critic.
I
think this and Last Jedi are the only two times I've ever seen that.
Yeah, normally I do not associate positively with the critics liking and the audience not. I think snooty, hoity-toity, like, get the fuck off your high horse. I don't think Pet Sematary necessarily fits that bill. Maybe the critics, just were able to forgive the fact that it came out the total wrong time of year. I'm not really sure. Either way, it gets murdered.
Yeah, absolutely destroyed. This may be our lowest audience percentage that we've ever had. 34%.
Audience loves Sherlock Holmes, man. A 77%.
77 is good.
That's like a test score I'd put up on the fridge.
I'd put it up. Hell, I'd put a 57 on the fridge. Let's be honest with ourselves.
D's get degrees. That's not quite a D, though. I think 60% a D, but...
Hey, C's also get degrees.
It's
true.
Fine.
If the D gets a degree, so will the C.
All right. My D gets some V. Never mind. Anyway, Letterboxd. This is out of 5. We have Pet Sematary coming in at 2.5 and Sherlock Holmes at a 3.4. Not as big of a discrepancy there, guys. Is that just because it's out of a 5?
Possibly, but I feel like a 2.5 rating on Letterboxd is still pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, that's a middle of the road.
So what's the difference between the people getting onto, because like if you average it out, that's basically a 50, but they gave it a 34% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. What's the difference between the people going to Letterboxd to rate something and the people going to Rotten Tomatoes for Pet Sematary? Why do those people fucking hate this movie so much?
I don't know. I can't answer that because honestly, I never saw either one of them.
Rotten Tomatoes is really like a cesspool.
Nothing about Pet Sematary makes me want to watch it.
That's a
Not
problem.
one thing. Like I would rather watch a movie I'd know I'd hate just because I'd have an opinion on it. Like Pet Sematary, I'm like, I don't even warrant an opinion on it. I don't know. It's just there.
I think what's it that Loki says? Like the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. Like it's not hating you, it's I don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
And that's where you're at with Pet Sematary right now.
Guys, this is a bloodbath. It's 2-0. Sherlock Holmes takes the month. Let's go ahead and give our opinions on these two movies. Geiger, we just got yours. Horns.
All right, so just for funsies, I drew one of the 5 Broforce Squad criteria between acting, cast, story plot, best scene, impact on pop culture, and rewatchability. And I drew impact. So the impact of these two movies, I'll say this about Sherlock Holmes. I think at the time it came out, it was important for Downey's career revival to be seen in a role outside of Iron Man. Like, once could be a fluke, 2 was a trend. So Sherlock Holmes coming out the year after Iron Man came out, I think actually put him on really solid ground in the cultural zeitgeist again, and the public said, okay, you're a viable movie star right now. Pet Sematary, again, came out at the wrong time, but it's the predecessor, the one it's a remake of, is a cult classic. So this thing already had an uphill battle, and then releasing it in April almost just feels like the studio did not give a fuck about it.
And you released it in April knowing what else is coming out.
Yeah, I don't really understand this.
I don't understand why any
there's
movie...
a Fast and Furious movie somewhere in the box office. So they usually come out in April, May, I think.
Whenever the fuck they want, man. You will move for Fast and Furious, trust me.
Impacts. Yeah. Pet Sematary, I think may have it has 0 impact. I honestly didn't even know that this movie came out until I did this research.
Ultimately.
As far as I'm concerned, there was one movie that came out in April of 2019. Sherlock Holmes, it had, I think what you said about Robert Downey Jr. is a good point. Also, this movie, they made 2 or 3 of them, so it spurred a franchise, which today isn't that hard, but I think in 2009 it was a little bit harder, right?
Yeah, and I mean for Downey to have basically 2 franchises going, I think Game of Shadows. They were supposed to make a third one, they haven't yet, but I like the sequel too, Game of Shadows. At the time, like him being an Iron Man was controversial casting. Just a year later, he's now in 2 franchises going simultaneously. I mean, talk about going from fucking the bottom of the barrel to King of the Mountain again.
Yeah, failing up, as I like to say.
Matt, any thoughts on impact for either of these 2, or do you want to move on to the
I
second?
don't really think there is any. I mean, Sherlock Holmes is such a beaten fucking down, like it's like Robin Hood. You've already done it great, so you can't do it anymore. Just don't. Just don't. Like it's in a category for me that it just should have never been done. I like Downey doing like I think it's called The Judge. Is that the one with
Yeah.
I mean, I want him to do those type of product. I've already seen him, what he can do in a franchise. I know he can rock that, but that's something those are the type of projects I really like him doing. He's fantastic.
Not something
in that.
artsy, but something serious.
It's not really artsy. It just shows how great of an actor he is. I already know that he can do like fun roles and stuff. Sherlock Holmes is basically, I don't know, just paying for more fucking money. I want to see him do like real movies.
That's fair. All right, second matchup. Matt, who do we have going up against each other, and what were their box office scores?
December 2009, Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Squeakquel. And April 2019, Shazam. These are interesting. So let's do domestically. Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Squeakquel, had 219 mil and some change. Shazam had 140 mil and some change. Once again, man, if we ever create a movie, we just need to drop in December. We'll make a shit ton of money. Because apparently people are just starved to go see it during the Christmas time.
We have all the kids are out of school and the families are like, I'm going to murder my children if I don't
never
get them out of the
that.
house.
I mean, Shazam was one that, as a DC fan, I've just kind of thrown in the towel, but their marketing was great on that movie.
Agreed.
I think it was around the NBA, right?
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
And honestly, guys, Shazam's not a bad movie. I'm not gonna say I liked it, but it was fun.
I enjoyed Shazam. It's harmless. I'll say this, just doing a little bit of cursory research, kind of crazy, but Zachary Levi is top billed in both of these films.
Yeah.
He's in The Squeakquel, guys.
Yeah, he is.
He plays.
The Squeakquel's a fun movie too, if I'm gonna be honest with ourselves. I've seen it. I'm not afraid to admit it.
You need to relax. Okay.
Do you think you need to have like a 30-minute conversation to remind Zachary Levi he was in that movie?
If someone put a gun to your head and said, all right, these are 2 Alvin and the Chipmunks sequel titles so far, The Squeakquel and Chipwrecked. And if you don't come up with something better than that in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to murder your whole family. What do you think you'd be able to come up with?
I'd be pleading with God to make sure that we're cool.
The third one, I'd call it Alvin and the Chipmunks Theodore instead of Theodore or something.
Wow.
Family can live. Let him go, Rick. Let him go. Untie him.
Giving each other bro hugs. The guy that just had a fucking gun to my wife's head. Like, God, that was a good one.
And you're
Thanks,
like, actually, I have the plot too. If you guys have a pen,
we ate spaghetti, but we have leftovers. You guys want to stay?
There's no more garlic.
I don't want this to get weird, but
yeah, there's no more garlic bread. But the
I got half a carton of Rocky Road in the freezer, though, if you're interested.
But yeah, I'll say the Shazam. I mean, I understand Alvin and the Chipmunks came out during Christmas time, but how does that still make $220 million?
I mean, I
guess kids movie at Christmas.
It's double it,
movies,
but
man.
Shazam though, April's not a throwaway month. That's like the start of the movie season. School's about to get out. The summer movies are about to hit. I mean, I'd say around April 15th is when great movies start hitting theaters, and it doesn't stop till second week of August.
Do you think Shazam was a victim of kind of the DC fatigue coming right after Suicide Squad and Justice League? Yeah,
they're just like, dude,
Are you guys surprised that they decided to put Shazam in the same month as our number one movie? Because I am. I think they could have either sat on it or pushed it up a month. With that marketing, I mean, it could have done it. It could have done a lot better than 140 million.
They did, but wasn't there another movie? Was it the Joker? No. Yeah, Joker came out in October, right? That year? 2019.
Yeah, September. October.
Yeah,
this last October, Joker came out. So yeah,
I mean, they wanted that later in the year for.
If you push it to June, you're gonna maybe cannibalize yourself. So,
Joker's not a spring-summer movie. You don't want to. It's not fun.
No, Joker came out around. I think it was around Halloween. September might be right, Banner, but they wanted one. They didn't want one in the dead of summer, which I don't understand. That's like superhero heaven. They should have had Shazam come out in like June.
Yeah.
Or even March and just beat Endgame.
When was Homecoming? Was that in July?
Homecoming.
Spider-Man's always in July.
Sorry, Far From Home.
Far From Home, I think was. Yeah, it was either July or I think it was July.
Spider-Man's always around like 4th of July, if I remember right. Homecoming, like all of them have been.
All right, so the squeakquel from December 2009 gets the first point. Banner, what does the internet or the populace of the rest of the world think about these two films?
All right,
I hope to God that it goes the way that I want it to go here.
Let's go reverse order here. Let's go Letterboxd first. The squeakquel coming in at a 1.8. Shazam 3.5, and remember this is out of 5, guys.
That's pretty damn.
That's pretty good.
3.5 is really good.
Flick.
Yeah.
For a C-list superhero, probably. Not to upset anybody, but let's be honest with ourselves. A 3.5, you'd take that all fucking day.
I mean, that makes it more impressive, right? Look at DC's roster of characters. They can get a fucking 140 million.
Even get the Flash right. Yeah.
We're too.
Hang your hat on that 3.5.
Going to Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm shocked.
April. Yeah, April 2019. We've got Shazam. Critics 91%.
Wow.
Audience 84.
That's insane.
Again, another one where the audience didn't like it as much as the critics.
It's not hard to make critics like superhero films. Just be jokey, and they'll fucking love it.
That's true. It's such they're like pigs to slop.
Unless you're Nolan, then you get a huge pass, and you can be dark and ominous.
Oh, you want dark and ominous? Oh man, I got Allman Brothers.
You're fucking Billy Baldwin, aren't you?
Got Allman Brothers tickets.
You know you're not getting paid for today, right? I'm aware of that.
I'm aware of that. Yes. I don't think I said it. Squeakquel, critics 20%, audience 49%.
So 50% of the audience that went to the Squeakquel, I guarantee you 50% of them, well, all of them had kids, but 50% of them are like, you know what? My kid shut up for an hour and a half. I'm going to give this like 4 stars. Cool.
Yeah, either that or how many 5-year-olds have access to the internet and are getting on Rotten Tomatoes?
More than we'd hope, probably.
So with 2 out of 3, I mean, Shazam wins that point to tie it up at 1. But Banner, what did IMDb have to say? Probably the most ruthless of any.
IMDb Squeakquel 4.5, and I think this is the fairest that IMDb has given tonight so far. Shazam 7.1.
That'll work.
I think both of those are very fair ratings of that movie.
I'm just shocked at how much the Rotten Tomatoes critics love Shazam. I mean, I knew they would like it, but that's like Guardians of the Galaxy type territory.
It's superheroes, and you've got...
I never thought about that, Jeff. That's very true. I mean, these are scores that Thor Ragnarok... I don't even know. Thor Ragnarok got 91%. Or the first Guardians. I mean, are you kidding me?
And the first Guardians was like a critical darling. People were like fucking shoving its dick down their throats.
I wonder if the first Iron Man got 91% from critics. I mean, a 90% is saying that that's one of the best, best like fun movies to see or good movie in the year. Tell me, I mean, Shazam is one of the top 5 movies in 2019.
9 out of 10 critics say that they would recommend it to you. That's crazy.
That's like, I don't even know if I believe that. That's like 9 out of 10 dentists tell you to use this toothpaste. Well, hold on. Why is that one dentist not want to use this toothpaste? That's
It's
what I want to
probably
know.
like when the head coach has the backup quarterback and he doesn't throw 3 picks and he just does an all right job and he gives him the game ball. It's like it was good for DC. That's what critics are saying. This is what we want from you guys.
You know,
Just do
that's a good point, Matt, because I do actually feel like critics, remember this was when the whole narrative of like Marvel's paying critics, they're being way too hard on DC. I almost feel like there was a little bit of pressure to not beat the fuck out of Shazam when it came out.
I never believed that Marvel's paying critics. I mean, Marvel does make good movies. I do believe that critics like, the majority of them like a certain, theme to the movie, which is fine.
Right. I mean, I could tell you, like, obviously we have our kind of a love, maybe not even a love hate, a hate tolerate relationship with critics. And like you were saying, I could tell you in a paint by numbers fashion if a movie will be liked by critics or not, even before I go see it most of the time.
Yeah, if you think critics are a bunch of idiots, well, you're right, because we're drunk and stoned most of the time through this. And guess what, motherfuckers? We are critics. We're certified critics. So anybody
I forgot
can
about
do
that.
it. Yeah,
We don't-
anybody can do it. It's not that hard to do.
That's what,
But
like-
I think that the critic discussion is very 5 years ago. I don't think people really care what critics think anymore. They look at the audience score and they care what like-minded individuals think. And if you're just drunk bros, you care probably what we think about movies. And if you're very artsy-fartsy, you care about what certain other people think about movies, which is fine.
All right, guys. So Banner, it's tied at 1-1. This brings us to us as the tiebreaker,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
I have drawn one of the 5 criteria, and it is story and plot. So I have the plot synopsis on IMDb, the one sentence for both of these films pulled up. Which one would you guys like to hear first?
I want the squeak will last. I want that one to just resonate with us. I need to just sit there for a minute.
Matt, what does the Rock say?
Marinate a bit, Jeff.
Matt, what does the Rock say in Fast 5? Give me the damn veggies.
Veggies.
I like my dessert first. Okay, here's the plot for Shazam in 2019. A newly fostered young boy in search of his mother instead finds unexpected superpowers and soon gains a powerful enemy. That's the plot to Shazam. And Banner, I will say this. One thing I did really like about Shazam was the way that they introduced this character sort of in the DC universe adjacent. They acknowledged the events of it, but also I think DC knew with an origin story like this, they had a chance for once to introduce a superhero where his origin story is not centered around pain and loss and grief. And they fully took advantage of that with Billy Batson being both a kid and kind of using the big motif and then also just the way that they presented him experimenting with his powers.
Yeah, I think that if the DC universe restarted, this would be a good place to start.
Oh.
Interesting point.
Because, like you said, you have all these other big things. It's not a big character, but you can draw these people in. You have kids. It's pretty funny and campy. It didn't do too much. It stayed in its lane. And honestly, because Shazam is such an unknown character to the majority of people, I think that is going to draw people's interest in. They don't know, like, oh, this is Batman, and their expectations are really high. That gives them an opportunity to grow into that universe. Very similar to what Iron Man did.
I think Matt said this on our Comic Movie Madness tournament from way back when, if you go check that out. But I think he was talking about The Crow, and he said a lot of times the lesser-known superheroes make...
Sounds like me.
Go on. He said a lot of times the lesser-known superhero movies make better origin stories because as audiences we don't come in with this like Batman, I know everything about his origin, so if you fuck it up I'm going to know, right?
Whereas and honestly, and to that point as well, the more known the character is, the more I don't want the origin story because I already know it. I want a different story. These characters, we don't know who they are, so give me that origin story. I want that backstory.
So actually, I watched Shazam. It was on HBO a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with these 90%. Well, not 90. I agree with these high 80% scores.
That's like fucking
Rotten Tomatoes. It's actually a really good movie. I like that it's kind of like Big, but not really because Shazam, the story arc has been, if anything, Big stole it kind of from Shazam. But
true.
You know what, man? It was fun. It was campy. but Shazam is fun and campy. If you've ever read the comics, my whole problem is not everything has to be dark. Not everything has to be, sometimes I give Marvel shit. I mean, Marvel's does a fantastic job, but there's some times where I'm like, man, this is a little too fun. But as long as it's with the story of the original comics, now you can take liberties a little bit. I understand that you have certain directors and certain actors that want to play it their way, but you can't make the Punisher fun and campy. You can't make Ant-Man serious, to a point. As long as it goes inside with the comic, I'm totally fine. When I went to Shazam, I realized, like, dude, this is going to be a bubblegum pop fun superhero movie, and it fucking was. Now, when I go to Batman, I don't want him making fucking jokes because it should be dark and Gotham and stuff like that. But this was an actually very good movie. And Banner, I agree with you to a point where this could start the DCU, but I think the DCU just needs to draw a line down the center of paper. I'm like, okay, who do we got that's serious and who do we got that's, fun? And we need to put these superheroes and just make their own universe with them and maybe interjoin them in spots in movies. But you need to have a fun universe and a dark universe. When you intertwine them, and Marvel does this sometimes too, where I feel like it's out of place because I'm like, okay, well, we had, Thor, who's a badass, come in, but now he has to do jokes because you're on Guardians, and like, I get it, and it's fun, but then there's sometimes it feels out of place. Like, you couldn't have fucking Bernthal in these Marvel movies, or Daredevil, the way they've set him up.
Right.
So I think Marvel kind of accidentally already did that they had a fucking dark universe and a light universe, and I enjoyed them both. But I don't want to see them intermix because you've already made one a badass. You made one that, is fun and I kind of, laugh with. So DCU could do that, especially with, the Joker and the Batman trailer we saw with Pattinson. And then you got this movie, which is a very fucking good movie. It really was.
And you can even wrap Aquaman into that fun kind of campy. I mean, Aquaman was not that dark. It wasn't the
they
dark
kind of made him that way with Momoa, but yeah.
Like it wasn't the same kind of tone and didn't give you the same feel that maybe Batman versus Superman gave us, or even Man of Steel.
Yeah.
All right, so before we give our point for story and plot, I mean, we have to read the plot synopsis to Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel. And I'm sure we'll talk even more about this one than Shazam. The plot synopsis, according to IMDb, the world-famous singing preteen chipmunk trio returns to contend with the pressures of school, celebrity, and a rival female music group known as the Chipettes. I mean, Geiger, I'll give you the floor. Does that not ring Oscar snub?
So, Jeff, if I die first on the pod, I want you to read that plot synopsis at my eulogy. And I want everyone to just be like, what the fuck's he talking about? And Banner's like, it's a Squeakquel. It just Geiger asked for this. He wanted this to be read. Why are there two of these? And there's some things that can't be movies. This was an animated series. I love Alvin and the Chipmunks. The same thing with Almost Sonic. Like, you can't make these like live action movies because they're animation. Is anyone else with me on some of this animation stuff? You can't make it live action. It just looks fucking weird.
I agree. But I think the thinking for them is they did the same thing with the Smurfs, right? Get someone who's kind of funny. Like the Smurfs did it with Neil Patrick Harris. Who the fuck did they do it with in Garfield? I can't remember. But Jason Lee is the one in Alvin and the Chipmunks.
James Marsden.
Yeah, James
Marsden.
Was in Sonic. It's kind of the same.
I'm looking up Garfield.
Give me a late 30s white guy who used to be in some comedy movies-ish or comedy adjacent, and we'll put the CGI characters with him. People fucking eat it up.
Breckenmeyer.
God, that's such a Breckenmeyer role. And Neil Patrick Harris are in these movies. Matt, it's not a joke. There is a paint-by-numbers formula these people have.
It's basically like the mid-40s white guy that would be on the JCPenney's catalog if he wasn't a C-plus actor, so he's in this movie.
Do you think to get Breckenmeyer for Garfield, they said, bring me Justin Long, but like discount Justin Long?
Yeah, like I need him cheaper.
He's 20% off, or as Banner would say, Control-Alt-Delete Justin Long. Banner, your thoughts on the plot synopsis to the sequel? I mean, the Chipettes versus the Chipmunks, that's a
plastic
rivalry.
Bag grocery Justin Long.
Bigger rivalry, Crips Bloods or Chipmunks Chipettes?
Chipwrecked is better.
Chipwrecked is better. I mean,
yeah, I mean, this is what fuels the fire. This is the money that these studios can bring in to feed these franchises and to feed all of these other works of movies. If this movie didn't make money, I don't even know what studio is. Let's just say it's Warner Brothers. Shazam wouldn't have gotten made. You need these super campy kids movies that parents are taking them to so they can get out of the house, not necessarily because it's a good movie. They need these to fund their studio.
For sure.
That has nothing to do with the plot. I think Chipwrecked is better. It's more fun. But that's just me personally. I agree with you, though, Matt. These live-action movies that were animated, they don't always work. You can even go with, like, The Grinch. I don't really think Jim Carrey's Grinch worked that well. And that's the same, I mean, that's kind of the same format, right?
We got a couple good memes out of it, but I don't really know if we can give it credit.
Honestly, the Cumberbatch remake of that's reanimated is better.
I love the Cumberbatch one.
I do too. It was really good.
Okay, so I think we all three vote plot synopsis or plot story plot goes to Shazam, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Tie ball game, folks.
It's all tied up going into the bottom of the ninth, and there could not be a more heavyweight matchup. We're talking Tyson Holyfield, mid-90s. Although this time, hopefully, none of them bite the other one's ear off. Matt, I know you're away from your computer right now. Do you want me to read it, or do you have the box office up? And who is?
No, I got it up. December 2009, Avatar. April 2019, Avengers Endgame. Domestic box office, Avatar first, 749 mil against Avengers Endgame, $858 million.
Jesus.
So, Banner, I'll let you go first. I mean, we built this matchup around, like, we built the matchup of the 2 months around this specific movie matchup.
Yeah, so I thought it would be fun to go and pick the month of these two big ones. You have one that is clearly very, very heavy on that top movie, but then you have another one that Avatar was expected to be good. I don't think it was expected to be this good. So you had other movies that thought they could compete with it. I mean, honestly, Sherlock Holmes probably thought it had a better shot, or at least the same shot at doing as well as Avatar.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, it's definitely not crazy.
Shazam knew it was going to get fucking slaughtered. Pet Sematary, I don't even know why they showed up.
Someone's got to bat ninth, you know?
You've got two really top movies, but they got there in different ways. And I thought that'd be fun to kind of analyze. Also, I think we need to say Endgame was re-released in theaters, and that added to its domestic box office.
Was that still in April, though? Or I guess we did it total for the movie.
We did it, yeah. It had to be released in April, but it was Lifetime. So,
but I guess, you know, the caveat with that, there's always going to be an asterisk next to these really, really high-grossing ones with some gimmick. Avatar, a lot of people say that the only reason it had the gross that big was because it was only shown, or it was shown almost exclusively, I think, for the first 3 weeks in 3D. So everyone that went to go see it, this was, I mean, back when it was like the first.
It invented 3D.
Correct.
The real D3D Avatar invented.
Another thing, too, Banner, correct me if I'm wrong, both of these months, December 2009 and April 2019, they have not competed yet in a matchup, right? This is both of their first
matchups, yes.
So if you're looking at December 2009, especially for box office, this is the only matchup, literally, that Avatar will ever lose.
Yes.
It's pretty interesting.
This is my problem with Avatar. I'm just going to say this really quick.
It's not going to be that.
Yeah, I know that it changed like movie experience, which we're grateful for. That's awesome. Let's name another movie that changed the moviegoer's experience. Star Wars. No one's ever seen anything like Star Wars when it came out, but Star Wars led to also one of the greatest franchises ever. It was also like I'm not saying Avatar is not a good movie. I'm just saying that it also could be argued as one of the best fucking movies ever. And you can even take away all the asteroid fights and everything like that. I don't think Avatar has that bullet in its gun. It's just basically, wow, that was a great movie going experience. And yeah, it was a pretty good film too. If it didn't have the 3D and everything with it, I don't think it would have got as much money, as much buzz as it did.
I'm going to say something that won't surprise you two, but someone at home is going to fucking wreck their car. What Avatar got and the acclaim that it gets for like visually being a disruptor in the medium and groundbreaking, that should have been Tron Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tron Legacy should, because I think Tron Legacy pound for pound is a much better actual movie. Like if you just watch them both on a regular TV, Tron Legacy's way fucking better. But visually and sound wise, you watch that thing in IMAX, and I think it's even visually better than Avatar. But because Avatar was the first one to do it, it wasn't ubiquitous at the time. 3D. Now it's like, shut the fuck up. Everything's in 3D. Like if you buy a 3D ticket now on accident, I get pissed off when I go to the theater. I'm like, God damn it. Which I've done before because I'm an idiot. But at the time, yeah, that was Avatar. I don't want to say it was smoke and mirrors or a gimmick because James Cameron shot the thing exclusively and specifically for 3D. But it was the first one to do it, and it was groundbreaking cinema. And it's not like Jurassic Park where the narrative and the story holds up 20 years later. It was
Jurassic Park's another good example. Yeah.
Yeah. So that should have been Tron Legacy because visually what Tron Legacy did, I think, was more impressive even. It just wasn't the first one to do it.
I think Avatar capitalized on the time that it came out and the technology that was available. I'm not going to disagree with any of that. Now, Geiger, to your point about Star Wars birthing a franchise, one of the greatest ever, we can have that argument a different day. Jury's still out on that. I know that it's been 11 years and it's going to be 12, 13 years before we get a sequel to Avatar, but we don't know what that's going to be. How many franchises were the first ones, yeah, it's pretty good, and then multiple movies, and as that story builds, it gets better. So jury's still out on that. I'm saying as of today, though, you're right.
We're getting the second one, right? Apparently, what, in the next couple years?
It's been pushed back so many times. At this point, to me, Avatar 2 is like the second shooter on the grassy knoll. Like I need to see proof. I want to believe it exists, but I need some tangible evidence.
Yeah, it's like your girlfriend saying we can do anal. Like I've heard it so many times, and she just goes back like, I'll believe it when we do it.
Then she's tired, or she's bloated, or I don't know, she's texting some guy named Chad. I don't fucking.
They're just friends.
They're work friends. She's trying to trade her shift. Like as a teacher, that's kind of fucking.
They also hang out. I don't know.
Outside of work, but he has just questions about some stuff. That's fine. Banner, what did the internet? I'm really, really curious to see what the internet thinks of these two movies.
All right.
Avengame. Jeff, fucking learn English. Avengers Endgame wins the first point.
Yes, it wins the first point by $100 million.
Yeah,
least.
Not even really close. Let's be honest. $100 million is a lot.
No, not really.
Money.
Although,
but come on. I mean, this is Endgame. I mean, Avatar's a monster, but Jesus.
I think that's another thing we didn't talk about. This. Avatar's the first movie of a franchise. Endgame essentially is the last movie of a franchise.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that they literally took from before Avatar came out, they were building towards Endgame.
Wow, that's a good point.
So that's, I mean, if impacts on pop culture comes up, it's going to be interesting what happens.
Endgame said, we'll see you in 10 years, bitch, and then start working towards it.
All right, let's start with Rotten Tomatoes, since we started with the other two already. Avengers Endgame, 94% critics, 91% audience.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, I don't think that we've ever seen anything that high before, ever, right?
Except for you, yeah. I love
December of 2009's Avatar, critics 82%, audience 82%.
Let me say this before we move on. I think it's interesting to look at these because, so when was Rotten Tomatoes actually a thing?
I have no idea.
Like I feel like it's way after Avatar. So the people going back to review, at the time, if these critics would have reviewed it the weekend it came out, like they did Endgame, these would both be 99s, right? But after you get to sit and think about it for 6-7 years.
Well, and yeah, that's another good point is, will Endgame's numbers go down 10 years from now? Or 5 years from now?
Right?
I mean, you're going to have people that just hate it people that didn't go out and see it opening weekend like we did, and they saw it, 3-4 years later when it was on TNT.
What if The Eternal sucks in 10 months and I come back and now Endgame has dropped like 3% on each? I could see that happening.
Yeah, it's very, very possible. IMDb, 8.6 for Endgame, 7.8 for Avatar.
Wow, 7.8. Dude, IMDb needs to chill out. Take your foot off these movies' throats.
I feel like 8.6 for Endgame is a weird spot.
That just shows you how hard I don't know if I've ever seen a 9 on IMDb, to be honest.
Endgame, I don't know what they're judging that by. I mean, it's not like, okay, well, it ended it. That's great. But it was actually a really good movie, too.
Here's my thing with Endgame. Endgame is a good movie, but it is impossible not to look at the other 20 movies that came before it while you're judging this.
For sure.
So it almost has an unfair advantage by the build up to it, whereas Avatar, it is what it is. It is a singular story. Where Endgame, could you follow it if you didn't? I don't know the answer to this, but can you follow the storyline without seeing the other movies?
The whole second act is predicated on the whole MCU, right?
Yeah, right. You can't say like that'd be like saying like, can you like Return of the Jedi without seeing the other two? I mean, that's a hard conversation to have.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
I haven't seen every MCU movie. I've seen the ones that I feel count. I've probably seen 80. I don't know. Jeff can answer this. Probably 80-90% of them, but I still knew what the fuck was going on.
I think you've seen everything but the Ant-Man's, probably, right? Maybe Captain Marvel, but
I haven't seen Captain Marvel. Yeah.
Let me say this: what I'm learning about IMDb, and if this offends you, then just correct your life. Don't get mad at me. Looking at how low the rating for Avatar is, IMDb is definitely where the mouth breathers go to voice their opinion about movies.
No shit.
Like 7.8, dude. Come on. It's like the second highest grossing movie of all time. You don't even give it a B.
And I don't know. Again, we don't know what they're judging this on, but we take impacts in. Avatar has a very, very strong impact on culture, with it being the first, regardless of whether you think it's the best or, like you said, Jeff, Tron Legacy should have been the first. Avatar was the first, and that is a huge point for impact, and that should raise that number up 3 or 4 points at least.
Right.
Letterboxd. Sorry, I forgot where we were at. Letterboxd, 3.3 for Avatar, and Endgame is a 4.1.
3.3, man.
4.1 on Letterboxd is, that's saying something. If you're in the 4s on Letterboxd, that's. Yeah. I'd give it like a 4. I think it'd be like a mid 4, 4.5, but.
A 3.3 on Letterboxd is insane. Like, if you're extrapolating out the scale, that's a 66%. Like, they think Avatar is a D.
Well, and to the same point, Endgame, that would only be an 8.2.
Right. And you guys know I am not rarely on this pod have I defended Avatar, but I just feel like the internet is not giving it a fair shake. And I know that's kind of the point of the internet, is for people to just fucking rant and rave.
I love it.
This just seems, I don't know, man. Did James Cameron fuck all these dudes' girlfriends? He's not getting laid that much, right? Maybe he is.
I don't know. Maybe.
You think? I think Avatar 2 is the best thing that could happen in this movie right now.
That's true. Yeah,
that's true.
Let's just bookmark this and come back and check it again. Because again, the matchups as far as the internet, they're fluid, right? So this could.
If you're not going to make 6 of something, then no one cares apparently.
So Banner, it looks like Endgame already wins because it's got 2 of the 3 points. But just to have the discussion, should we just go we'll rig the drawing? Should we just?
Yeah, we have to go impact here. The story plot and then acting cast honestly doesn't fucking matter in this matchup. We have to talk impact.
I will say this, another interesting note, because 2 of the 3 of these had the same actor in both movies. Zoe Saldana is in Endgame and Avatar.
No
Matt,
way.
if you thought she turned you on when she was painted green, wait till you see her painted blue.
Yeah, I'm a sick fuck. I don't know.
That's like my therapist. I said we could put mom on the back burner.
I go to counseling, but it's weird. My insurance doesn't cover it, so
I'm gonna go first here.
Sorry, real quick, Manor. What's the line from Blades of Glory where he's at the sex therapy and he's like, "Come on, man.
come on, Taylor."
I've asked you to leave before."
He's like, Chaz, I've asked you to believe before. I don't want to do it. It's like, Taylor, come on, man. Just one more.
Sorry, Manor. That was just cracking me up.
Impact. I'm gonna give it to Avatar.
What?
All right. Well, defend yourself, and maybe I'll let you live.
The biggest impact that Endgame has is that, yes, it ended the MCU. The MCU as a whole is what impacted culture so much. It is the cultural phenomenon. Yes, it capped that. Avatar started the visual effects. Granted, again, whether you think it should have been the first, whatever, it was the first. It is what made Real D 3D a success and why we still have it 10, 11, 12 years later. Because of what Avatar did. The word of mouth of how people are like, hey, you've got to see Avatar. Is the story good? Yeah, it's fine. But you have to see it because of these visuals. And seeing it in IMAX was a game changer. The word of mouth is what made this movie make $750 million domestically. Because it was something we had never seen before. Endgame, we had been building to it for 12 years. We knew what it was going to be. I don't think Endgame, we knew what it was going to be. It could have fallen off the map and been terrible, but everybody knew it was going to be good. Avatar, nobody knew what it was going to be.
That's a good point.
How much of that $850 million that Endgame made was in the first 2 weeks? And how much of the $750 that Avatar made was in week 3 through 5?
Avatar did definitely have legs. I remember, because around Christmas, it's kind of interesting. Like, the closer you get to Christmas, the less people, like Matt was saying, when they're shopping is, well, at least for the people that aren't like divorced dads who actually shop ahead, their movie-going experience tends to dwindle because you're with family and you just can't fucking do shit. And I remember Avatar being one that, like, even up to Christmas Day and beyond, people were still going to see. Matt, what do you think?
I mean, this ain't even a fucking discussion at all. So I'll try to compare this to something that you all might understand. Avatar was the first to do something. Wow, congratulations. Carl Perkins was one of the first to play guitar, and a lot of you probably don't know who the fuck that is. You'll have to Google it. You know why? Because then Hendrix came along, and Jimmy Page, and fucking Stevie Ray Vaughan. Avengers is like the Beatles. They're the best to ever fucking do it. No one's ever going to be compared to them, and they did it for longevity. This was a culmination of like 25 fucking years of good movies, and they ended with, what could be arguably said, one of their best movies. I mean, impacts upon culture, was the Beatles versus somebody that played guitar for the first time, and a bunch of other people did it better than them, I think.
Again, I disagree, because you just said it yourself. You said this was the culmination of all of these movies, not this movie. Yes, this movie was great, but
it doesn't matter how you start, though. It matters how you end. They could have fumbled the last movie. I mean, we see it all the time in TV shows and everything, and they didn't. They fucking ended it perfectly, I thought. I mean, there's a lot of trilogies that you could name. Dark Knight Rises comes to mind. There's a lot of stuff that they didn't end it very well. This movie did, and Avatar, all it has is like, well, we were the first to do this, okay, but now other people have done it better and it's evolved. So if you watch Avatar 20 years after the fact, you're going to think it looks dated. Endgame's going to be like Star Wars, man. It's going to be like the Beatles. It's not going to be dated. They're going to fucking dig this for years to come.
I am very conflicted because you all know that I would take a bullet for the MCU. But Banner's point has me thinking. So the impact, I think,
said nobody ever.
The impact, everything you both said is correct, though. Like Matt says, sticking the landing in the MCU is almost fucking impossible, right? And not only did they do it, but like literally every important character from 22 films not only comes back, but has kind of a significant role because of the plot device that they use to retrieve the Infinity Stones. Like, they are able to use Thor to poke fun at Thor the Dark World and how overly serious it was. Like when he says, I fought the Dark Elves. Woo! Like, yeah, okay. At one point, we tried to become Game of Thrones, and did not fucking work. So again, having that movie work is like a fucking it's a yeoman's task, right? It's like almost impossible. But I think if we're talking impact, I mean, Avatar really did change movie making, and I agree with Matt. Like, it was not the best to do it at all, but it was the first. Like, it gave people like that's how art is, though, right? Like, you see one guy do something, you're like, well, I can actually do that better. So in a weird way, I think Avatar kind of gave us a lot of things in Avengers Endgame. But I'll say this: if future Jeff Hornacek uses the quantum realm to come back in time, he would kill me if I didn't vote for Avengers Endgame here. So, Banner, well, I think you made a very compelling point, and one that like I'm going to be probably laying in bed thinking about. I have to go Avengers Endgame just based on principle.
Fucking sellout.
He's got the movie poster in his fucking room. How do you think this is gonna go?
Dude. And when the portals open, I mean, I'm gonna be, if I get erectile dysfunction ever in my life, I mean, that's what I'm gonna watch to get my boner up.
I'm just saying that scene. Again, it's hard. It's a hard argument because visually we wouldn't have had those visuals if Avatar hadn't set the bar in 2009 for Endgame and the MCU to raise the bar. But also, you have all these characters and all these actors and actresses, and like you said, a culmination coming to a head in that moment.
No,
But
I agree.
could they have pulled that moment off without the technology and the precedent that Avatar set 10 years prior?
Yeah, and I agree that like the impact of Endgame being the first highly successful interconnected universe that they were able to actually like wrap up
It's
the
the
narrative with.
only one.
Right. But let me ask you this. If and this is sort of looking at the flip side of it, if Endgame failed, if they were like, okay, we made all these movies that were interconnected and then we just could not fucking finish the story. Like I know we were building this villain up for 7 years, 12 movies. We couldn't do it. Do you think we would see as many attempts at an interconnected universe?
Again, though, I think because of the argument, we are talking about a singular movie, not the universe as itself.
But that was my point about Endgame, is that movie alone proved that it is possible. Granted, you need a singular vision in Kevin Feige, and like really, Marvel did not recast after their first 3 movies, right? Like Terrence Howard and Edward Norton, and then they were pretty much like everybody that signed on. They were like, "No, dude, you're fucking in this," which is pretty impressive. Like from 2009 on, they pretty much kept everybody. So I agree. I see what you're saying, where you're like, you can't give Endgame credit for the other 21 movies, but I also think Endgame had the hardest job of all of them, and in what it was able to achieve is impactful, like even beyond the idea of building a connected universe.
Understandably, but the MCU and Endgame was going to be a success box office wise, whether it was a good movie or not. Endgame was going to be a success.
But that's Avatar too, right? I mean, we don't even think it's
still is Avatar, because they're like, dude, this is going to change movie. Because you're not even selling the story anymore. You're just selling the experience.
We can't sell the story. It's Pocahontas. And Banner knows that. He's not even...
Yeah, no, I'm not defending the story. This would be a completely different conversation if we were talking about story.
Banner, the main reason I think you lose is in Avatar they have sex by tying their ponytails together, and I just can't get behind that.
I don't understand the problem.
All right. So at the end of the day, April 2019 defeats December 2009 by a score of 2-1. Guys, before we move on to the second part of our show, final thoughts on this matchup, Matt. I mean, we had some fucking heavy hitters going on here.
A lot of bad movies, a couple okay ones, and a great one.
If you have a bad movie out there, just fucking put snow in it and pop it out in December, right? Is that what we've learned?
You'll be good. Yeah. As long as it's kid-friendly, you'll be fine.
Yeah, just keep that shit PG. Golden.
Maybe don't start by saying keep that shit PG. Banner, what are your thoughts? As someone with a young kid who you're about to start taking to the movies at least 2-3 times a year during the holidays,
maybe.
Do you think this turned out the way that it should, the matchup with April winning?
That's a tough one. That's a really hard one because I think December of 2009 will beat every other month aside from April of 2019. Because I think top to bottom, movie-wise, I think December of 2009 is stronger. Looking at it in different lights than April of 2019.
Yeah, I'll say the internet love for Sherlock Holmes, I think, is really going to surprise us in these matchups. Very interesting. All right.
I'd be interested to do like a Sherlock Holmes. The first one came out this month. When did the second one come out? And let's compare those months.
Ooh, I mean, they would be fucking idiots to not do in December, but as we've seen, these guys don't. These marketing people. And
Look, Solo came out in May. Just saying it.
And Aquaman came out in what, Matt? November?
December. Stupidest marketing ever.
Ocean, water. It's snowing outside.
Sand.
Yeah, you market that around like Hurricane Harbor, Oceans of Fun all day.
God damn it. Yeah, you don't buy like your icy at 7-Eleven and fucking Aquaman's on it. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I still bought the icy. But... All right, the second part of our show is our protein shake, where we go around and talk about what's in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. Matt, why don't you get us started? What have you seen since we last talked?
Dude, I got 3 things. I'll go through the first 2 kind of quick because the last one we'll probably have a discussion about because it's kind of pissed me off. First thing I watched was Dancing with the Stars with Carol Baskin. All I'm going to say about this,
You're braver than me.
She's a very frumpy woman, Banner. Do you think she has any athletic ability? You have to be an athlete to be able to dance. Don't kid yourself. All I have to say about this, if she can do this, then OJ should be in the booth for Monday Night Football because he was actually good at that. She cannot dance at all. And I think she's going to be off next week. But there's no difference. I want OJ on the NBC cast if this is fine. This makes no sense at all.
That's a good point.
What do you think they get paid to do this show? Like how much?
I think each person is different. I think each person has their own
contract. I think they give her. I think she gets like $90K, maybe $80K. That's cheap for them, wouldn't it be? Probably.
Right. Yeah.
I don't even think it's that much.
Oh, and a fun side note: if you're in the Tampa area, then before she went on, there was a commercial from her ex-husband's family looking for the killer, and then named her as one of the suspects. They're like lawyer paid, which I think is around $80,000 to $100,000 to pay for an ad during like that big a show.
A primetime spot is like $150K.
Yeah, that's in prime time on a big network.
They honestly probably paid more for the commercial than she got paid for doing the show.
Yeah.
Quick over under. Before Carol Baskin dies, which again we might have only a couple years there looking at her body fat content, but does she go to prison for that murder?
No.
After Tiger King already came out and everyone's there must not be any evidence or something. I don't know.
I mean, the internet's still on the case, so I think that there's a shot she can get maybe convicted.
Dude, if we can't get Stephen Avery out, I'm losing faith in the internet.
Yeah.
Matt, last thing I wanted to ask, do they show her husband who's like the total fucking cuck of the year?
I didn't see. He was in the audience like for a second, but usually they show the
athletic
dancers.
ability.
Was he on a leash in the audience?
No, he was not on a leash. But she danced. So, Jeff, guess what song she danced to?
Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger?
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's not an easy song. I mean, that's not like a dance song.
And for someone who's trying to, like, preserve tigers, it's kind of weird that you're dancing to a tiger song.
Objectifying them?
Right. They're fucking objects. So, Matt, real quick, before you move on to your second one, are you going to stick around with Dancing with the Stars this season?
No, that's the only reason I watched it. I just wanted to see what the fuck. I've never watched Dancing with the Stars before. That's not really my thing.
Okay, unless the wife is like dragging you to watch it whenever
it's
the fuck
it's on. It's not The Bachelor, which I'm into. Come on.
I don't like dancing really either, so it's
there's no controversy in it.
No, not really.
The drama's not there.
It's more people like overcoming things. Like I'd rather watch like Celebrity Fit Club when that was on VH1. I like that when like people overcome like stuff to lose weight. Yeah. That's interesting, but
even The Biggest Loser was fun.
Yeah. The second thing I watch on YouTube, if you just type in like play Wingfoot. So Wingfoot is where the U.S. Open is held this week. Toughest golf course probably on the
Mamaroneck,
face
New
of the earth.
York. My old stomping grounds.
How do you pronounce it?
Mamaroneck.
Okay. I had no idea how to fucking pronounce that at all. There's a lot of vowels
Those
in there.
greens are fucking nasty.
To run
So
that place.
watching the U.S. Open's fun, but I love watching YouTube because I have these YouTube channels. So does Thurman, who's also a big golfer. But there's like amateurs that are probably about the same skill set as me and Thurman. Some are better, some are a little worse, but they're playing this course from the tips. And it's so fucking fun to watch because they're mic'd up, and instead of like, you know, like, okay, what's the yardage? What's the win thing? Like Bryson DeChambeau, it's a guy saying, there's no fucking way I can get it out of this fucking shit. Like, and I was like, I can't hit my fucking driver today. It's like awesome. Like listening to like real people play golf. And then they're over a putt and they're like, wow, I blew that fucker past. There's no way I'm going to make this. They're making double and triples on holes, and they're actually not hitting that bad of shots. They're just getting in the rough and they're getting fucked. I don't know why this isn't on ESPN or Fox Sports Net. One, Jeff, is Barstool. So two of the guys are camera guys for Barstool, but they're, you know, single digit handicaps and stuff. Like if you're playing the tips at Wingfoot, if you shoot a 92, you're playing very well. Yeah. I mean, that's playing very well, but that's very fun to watch. Okay, last thing
I want to ask you, Matt. Do you think these guys, because their YouTube channel's so big, are they able to go up to these courses and be like, hey, man, can we like play around for free? It's probably going to take us like 4.5, 5 hours because we want to film, but it'll get 100,000 views. And
yeah, so a lot of these people did this before COVID. The only one that did it, and it was this week, was Barstool. So they're playing it in about tournament conditions. They played it Labor Day weekend. So yes, that is true. If you have a big enough channel, they'll be like, maybe not Wingfoot, but a lot of other courses will be like, yes, please showcase our course. Because I'll watch like Me and My Golf, the British guys, and like some of the courses they'll play in Arizona and California. I'm like, man, if I'm ever there, I want to play that course. That course looks awesome. They're not courses you see on TV. They're just kind of like vacation courses. But Wingfoot, I'm not sure if it's the U.S. Open course.
I used to drive by there all the time, and it was a nice course. But if you would have told me that the U.S. Open's going to be here in 5-6 years, I'd be like, what?
One of the that and Bethpage Black, which I think is in New York as well.
Yeah.
It's up north.
Bethpage is like infamous. It's a fucking death sentence.
Okay, the last thing I watched on Netflix. It's hot right now, red hot. Social Dilemma. Has anyone else watched this?
So I've seen the trailer, and I always forget. I feel like I ask this every time you watch something on Netflix. Is this a series or just the one documentary?
It's an hour-and-a-half show.
This is about how all of the social data and the cookies and stuff on our phone are being collected and tracked, and right? Yeah,
sure. Banner, have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
Okay. Well, I'm about to tear this fucking thing apart. Yes, Jeff, that is what it's about. We watched it. There's nothing on here that I didn't already know. Do phones control us? Absolutely, yes. Do they know everything about us? Like, I went and talked to one of my clients today, and then when I got my phone, my client's Facebook page is one of the first things on my news feed. Do they know when phones are close together? Yes. Do I have a problem with any of this? Absolutely not. I like that YouTube has an algorithm that knows me and throws videos that I want to see. I have no problem with this at all. The problem I have with this show is the people on this are a bunch of Silicon Valley guys that used to work for Facebook and Uber and Pinterest and all this fucking shit. The problem I have was with the subliminal messaging on this show. So it's about how the kids can't handle social media and it's causing suicide rates to spike and blah, blah, blah. And we're all about the kids and stuff. But while you're here, we're going to shove down your throat climate change and how cops are bad and how Russia fucked with the election and how the coronavirus is a hoax.
Squeeze that into
Pizzagate. So some of it is on fake news, which I agree with wholeheartedly, a lot of the stuff. But the problem I have with this subliminal messaging is fake news is on both sides. It's on both sides. But when you just play the top 10 hits from CNN's playbook, I'm like, guys, like, come on. Like, yes, I mean, and there's even some stuff, man, it's like, the one guy brought up climate change. I'm like, that is an actual conversation after this whole coronavirus hoax that we probably need to have, because if we're behind the eight ball, that's not a fucking very good place to be. And we might have to make some, dramatic changes and stuff. But I thought this was just about like the biggest fake story was about Pizzagate. Have you guys about this?
I'm very familiar with
Okay.
Yeah. So there used to be some pizza parlor in DC where like Washington's elite, I think mostly liberals, would go and have sex with like kids.
And they hit them in the basement. And some guy saw this and said, fuck that, I'm going to go in with an AK and blow it up. And there was no basement and no kids. Now, if they were hiding kids there and they were talking about it on the computer for a month, obviously they probably would have moved the kids. My whole thing about that is it all spawned from Hillary's emails that they got. And they did use pizza in a weird way, like how someone would use nookie or pussy or like a slang term for something. Does it mean underage kids? I don't know. It was weird. So when they said, well, Pizzagate was a hoax and social media made this guy kill someone, I'm like, that's not necessarily true. The pizza parlor they're holding them in didn't have kids in it, yes, but still the word pizza is a slang term used for something. They're using how like people were saying that coronavirus was a hoax and everything. And that's fake news. And how Russia interfered with our election, which I still don't understand. I tried to read about that, but I don't understand how they interfered with our election.
That, dude, you'll just get mad.
I just some of the stuff I'm like, listen, man, you can do the other side too. Have an open mind, love everybody. People aren't trying to kill you or anything. Just see everyone's viewpoint. Just have a conversation. Not everything has to be like bad.
Unless you're
chill
playing
out.
Mad.
Everyone needs to chill out.
Well,
unless you're
Geiger,
playing
you want to know
Mad.
what I watched this week?
Yeah, sure.
I watched the live-action Cinderella.
Okay, Lily James, my girl,
Yeah.
is what's her name? Hella.
Yeah,
Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett.
Right.
She's great. She is a fantastic villain, guys.
Really good.
She's really good.
Are her evil stepsisters anyone I would recognize? I don't think I've ever
Have
seen
you ever
her.
seen Downton Abbey?
Yeah, cursory, yes.
My wife tells me that they're in the show Downton Abbey.
Is the let me look it up. I wonder if the chick from Matthew McConaughey's wife in The Gentleman, I think she might be in it.
It's
Downtown
it's good.
Abbey.
It's fine.
No, Matt, it's Downton. Okay.
Why though?
Oh my God, Helena Bonham Carter is in it. Out. And it's not directed by Tim Burton. How did that work out?
Because it's
got Rob Stark in it.
Oh yeah, Richard Madden is in it. I haven't seen him since Bohemian Rhapsody.
From Mad Men, right?
I don't know, maybe. I wasn't a Mad Men guy.
Well, it's Downey's dad, right? And
oh no, that's a different guy. Although I do love that guy. I can't remember his name.
who the hell's Rob Stark?
Richard.
Oh, sorry.
Madden.
Yeah, from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
the show
Game of
Jeff
Thrones.
had seen.
What were
Okay,
you
yeah,
thinking it was?
Yeah.
And yes, he was in Bohemian Rhapsody. I was thinking like, who's Iron Man's dad? I was thinking that. Sorry, and that's yeah. Go ahead. I'm drunk.
Clearly.
Cut off my mic.
Guys, this is a forgotten about live action adaptation, and it's pretty good. I'm not gonna say I don't think it's better than Beauty and the Beast. Probably not better than Aladdin, but it might be third. It's pretty fucking good, guys.
Cinderella's good.
It's funny because Cinderella, I feel like after the other live actions came out, Cinderella just didn't fuck up, and so it's inherently moving up the totem pole of.
Exactly. I mean, that's all you have to do.
Banner, do you know who
Cinderella
directed
was the only one I actually was like, I would like to see this in the live action. It makes sense.
Banner, do you know who directed it?
No, because I'm drunk.
Our boy Kenneth Branagh, Thor and Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh yeah.
Is he in it? Because he always throws himself in his movies, like Fast
He might
and
have a
Furious.
cameo in it, but I didn't like actually recognize like, oh shit, that's him.
I'm sure he does. He can't keep himself out of his own films, which I'm not complaining about. I like him a lot. It's
Yeah,
just-
he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's Gilderoy Lockhart in the second Harry Potter.
Totally. What else? What else do you watch?
Big Brother. I'm a freak. That's three
Yeah,
episodes. That's 3 episodes a week plus the live feeds. Plus you got the app that you keep up on. It's a full-time job.
Yeah, you and I have debated talking about this on the show. I think we'll just keep it to our own private phone
Yeah, I
conversations.
mean, if anybody cares, this show has been boring up until this week. There has been a lot of drama. There has been a lot of controversy. Um, this week, things are starting to snowball. We're starting to get a little bit more action, a little bit more backstabbing. So we're getting there. It's just real slow start. And it's not what you want to see on an all-star cast, which sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pleased with it, but yeah, I agree. It hasn't been like explosive. Like if I'm CBS trying to market this thing right now, we're kind of grasping at straws each week. But for a purist like you and I think there's still something we can get out of it.
Oh, sure. I'm not enjoying myself. I mean, please.
One of the more, especially this still early in the game, we're like a third of the way through. There's really only like probably not no one right now that I'm super annoyed by.
I would agree with that. I just the lack of blindsides right now and the lack of backstabbing.
No one has balls. Everyone is
Nobody
playing
has the
really.
guts to do anything.
When you have 4 people trying to throw an HOH, it's like
That's terrible.
it's bad, yeah.
Like nobody. That's the thing is now the game has turned into I don't want to win
Right.
to win, and that's just not fun.
It's a weird spot. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. That's all I got.
All right, I watched 2 movies. One is a rewatch. The other one is one I think you guys might be kind of interested in if you are in the mood for a tearjerker. I watched a movie on Netflix called Other People. This is, I think, 2 years old. It stars Jesse Plemons. And Matt, you'd be interested in this. Molly Shannon, but in a very serious role.
Okay, I love Molly Shannon and Jesse Plemons. Friday Night Lights and Game Night, very great actor. And
Yeah.
like Mike.
Also, Bradley Whitford, who was the West Wing, and he's the dad in Get Out, says I would have voted for Obama for a 3rd term.
He's a great actor. He's in a lot of stuff you don't know, but he's really good.
He's awesome. He is the dad in this. Basically, the plot is it's a dramedy, but I would say 60% drama, 40% comedy.
Is it dark? Is it dark humor?
No, it's not really dark humor, but the plot is Jesse Plemons' mom is Molly Shannon, and she is being diagnosed with terminal cancer. She basically has like 10 months to live. And he is a writer in New York for like a couple failed television shows, and he's had like a couple pilots that have been like flirted with and not picked up. But he moves back home temporarily to Sacramento from New York to basically live with her in her final 10 months. And it's sort of about how much they love each other in their relationship and like the burgeoning idea, and I fucking even dread talking about this because none of us want to ever have to think about this, but it is inevitable. But the burgeoning idea of like, I'm going to live in a world in 9-10 months where my mom is not here. And like, how do I move on? And his mom is married to Bradley Whitford. That's like, his dad is Bradley Whitford. And it's about like their relationship. Like, they love each other, but, you know, any father and son, you know, at some point you have some feuds, and it's like, how are we going to be when mom's gone? And all the family dynamics, but there's still humor involved because he goes back to his old hometown. And Matt, you know how this is. There's always like those couple guys, like, even if I haven't seen you in 5 years, you still live here. Let's get shit-faced one night. You know, it's like that guy in town.
It's weird that we're on a pod together, but every fucking time you like will pitch a movie to me, I just need to text you and I'm like, hey, I'm about to eat dinner. Like, what should I watch?
And it's really short. It's like an hour 25. The wife would love it. And there's one scene, I won't tell you like what leads up to it, but Jesse Plemons has to go pick something up for his mom from the grocery store. And he's like pretty hammered drunk and he's had not a good night. And he's having like a fucking mental breakdown in the grocery store. And there's this grocery store employee who's like some 15-year-old high school chick who's like trying to stock the shelves. And Jesse Plemons goes, he's having a meltdown in the aisle. And he's like, I just need the fucking laxatives. And this woman walks by and he goes, and then we got this fucking chick. And she's like, this is my first day here. We've all been there, blacked out in a grocery store, cussing at the help who's restocking like refried beans.
Slow Tuesday.
But Other People, I think I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I don't know, Matt. I think, Matt, it hits that sweet spot of like, it makes you laugh at the right times, but man, it really strikes an emotional chord, and you're going to want to call your mom afterwards and just be like, hey, just so you know, I love you. Just so you know.
It's like a Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Whatever they call it. It's like,
Just want to tell you, I love you, Dad. So
One time I woke up and he tried to give me a crew cut.
other people, I don't think it's a Netflix original. It's probably like actually 3 or 4 years old now I think about it. It was like at the Plemissance as he started to become like not the kid from Friday Night Lights and kind of his own actor. Another movie is a rewatch, and I had to watch it. And before I actually get into this, Banner and I briefly spoke earlier today about a crazy idea that I don't know. Banner, do we want to tease what we were going to do for our 5-year anniversary on pod, or just save it as a secret for the fans?
I think that's a tease enough.
Okay. Geiger,
we've got something in the works that is a year out. Sorry, I got like ash in my mouth. It's a year out at least, but we're working on it. Next year, 5 years, it's gonna be big. Yeah, Geiger doesn't even know about it.
No, Geiger.
Yeah, remember the first year we all had 6-packs, didn't have dad bods, had like 8 chicks we were dating each.
Matt, you were 450 pounds.
We all had like 18 chicks we
you
were
drank
dating.
4 liters of Coke a day, actually, if I remember.
It was awesome. We could have done anything, but we chose to do this pod.
Could have solved world hunger, but
yeah. Cancer's fine. We could have solved that problem.
Yeah,
but cancer's going to solve itself.
What we need is another fucking bunch of idiots talking about movies. That's what we really need in this world.
I don't know.
So that's what we did.
There's a meme and it says 3 white guys having a conversation is called a podcast.
Yeah.
That's one of the funniest things. Movie in question is Prisoners. The Denis Villeneuve, film starring Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Terrence Howard, Alfred Woodard. Rewatched this the other night. Oh my god, dude. Fucking clinic in filmmaking. Has everything. Suspense, fucking plot twists, great music. Hugh Jackman gives the performance of a lifetime. I haven't seen Les Mis because I'm straight. That's not a bash on gay people. Just musicals are not the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning. But I think this is his best performance, Hugh Jackman. And
I have not seen Prisoners, but I saw Les Mis. He was good in it. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's more on the bone there. I think he could have been better.
His greatest performance up for consideration. This Greatest Showman, Swordfish, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, Les Mis was the one that got him some Oscar love. Logan. Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, keep saying Logan. Honestly, what was the movie that just came out this past year? It's even on the Oscars list where he plays the school superintendent. Bad Education.
That's HBO movie?
Yeah, that's a great fucking film. But, Matt, have you seen Prisoners?
I have not. Is that on a streaming service or do you...
It's on Hulu. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll watch it tomorrow then.
10 out of 10. So we started watching it last night, and the wife, we had to end like 30 minutes before just because I have to get up so fucking early. And she was like, no, we have to finish this. Because I purposely waited till like a big fucking plot reveal happens. And all day she was texting me like, hey, like we got to finish this before you pod tonight. And the juice is worth the squeeze in Prisoners. I'll tell you that. The guy Denis Villeneuve, I mean, he's done Sicario and Arrival and, his Dune coming out. He's basically like the director. This thing's just fucking insane. If you don't know the plot, Matt, the 50,000-foot elevator pitch, Terrence Howard and Hugh Jackman are neighbors who are really good friends, and their families have Thanksgiving dinner together. Their 2 daughters go out in the front yard to play, and they go missing. And Jake Gyllenhaal is the detective who's assigned to the case. It's basically like True Detective Season 3, but 5 years earlier and with a much more cool fucking ending.
So the pitch to my wife is like, yeah, it's kind of a detective movie. Gyllenhaal's in it, and she'll watch it.
Yeah. Gyllenhaal's really good in it, too. And I like Gyllenhaal because his name is...
She loves Gyllenhaal.
I mean, once you made the sale, quit selling, basically. All right, that's all I watched. Nobody had anything else, right? What's that?
Do we have a parrot now on the pod? It's weird.
And that brings us to the last part of our show, our question and answer segment called Do You Even Lift Bruh? Where we ask a question and answer it that we leave you with. Our Do You Even Lift brought today. So a lot of stuff happened last week. Matt, I'll give you the choice as to what we talk about. The Mandalorian Season 2 trailer or Chris Evans' dick pic that was leaked that I know you now have as the background on your work computer. It's clearly a loaded question.
I mean, neither one of them I've seen because of principles. Because I'm a man that draws a line in the sand and doesn't cross that line. The Mandalorian Season 2, that's awesome for people that subscribe to Disney Plus and want to give money to the man. After I crossed my arms all the way through The Last Jedi, and before I left, before my wife, who left 40 minutes before the movie ended and said, "This sucks, I'm going home," I said, "I'm never going to fucking watch this shit again." And I didn't.
Forgot she actually walked out early.
She walked out early. Star Wars is what brought our relationship together, too. It was a snowstorm. We were dating for 3 weeks, and she had to stay at my place. And we watched every single Star Wars movie and talked about how great it was and made love until the morning come. And now we won't watch any more Star Wars flicks because we're just fed up. We're done, man. Chris Evans' dick pic, wasn't that an accident?
Quote unquote. It's called marketing.
Allegedly.
I mean, what? He doesn't seem like a guy that would send dick pics. I don't get dick pics.
He sent like a screenshot of his camera roll, like all the photos he has. I think it was to show like something about like how him and Mark Ruffalo just send them each memes of each other. And in the bottom right was like clearly a dick pic he had sent some chick.
I don't get those. Like what? Like, do chicks even like those?
I mean, if you're Captain America, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, but our
I'd see Captain America's dick for scientific reasons, obviously.
That's not the question. Is if someone texts me, "Hey, you can get Captain America's dick for free. Do you want?" I'm like, "Yeah, send it, whatever." Yeah, but if I'm at a stoplight, I'll glance at it. That's not the question. I don't get
free data. Shoot it over. Come on.
I get when chicks send pics of their boobs and stuff. I don't get dick pics. Like I've never heard a chick be like, "Oh, have you seen it?" Like, as long as it's not really short.
Who is the dick pic for?
Who is it for? Like, do women even like it? I think they would rather have.
The question. Fuck, did the chicken come first or the egg? Who are dick pics for?
If Evans is in shape of Captain America, a girl would be like, "Hey, send me a picture of you with your shirt off." I get that. Like, he works out a ton and he's a good-looking dude, but like, "Oh, send me a picture of D." I'm like, why? Like, what? I mean, yeah, if you have it trimmed up and it's not short as fuck, it's gonna look. I mean,
right,
I don't even know.
To
quote Dave Chappelle, I don't even know if I could pick my dick out of a line. If you give me a line of 10 dicks, I don't even know if I could tell you which one's mine.
Point. Now, Banner, I do know you loved Chris Evans' spin zone of the released dick pic. Do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, look, it was clearly an accident. He clearly did not mean to post that dick pic. He deleted it immediately. Radio silence for 2 days. First thing he comes out and says, and he's getting hammered, dude. Mark Ruffalo hammered him. His brother was hammering him.
Roasting him.
Yeah.
Like, for what?
Ruffalo was like, "Dude, ... And one guy tweeted at him, "Don't you have his phone number?" And he goes, "Yeah, but I mean, come on." Like, yeah, I could privately.
After 2 days of complete radio silence, he posts, "Now that I have your attention, ... go vote November 3rd. Talk about spinning a negative into a
The problem there, though, is now it seems even more intentional.
Honestly, okay.
If voter turnout is greater because Chris Evans' penis was on the internet, we've failed as a country.
If you were wondering whether to vote or not, and it took Chris Evans' dick pic to like get you either to the polls or mail in or whatever,
probably shouldn't be voting.
I think
we don't need your vote.
Maybe there's a reason that some countries don't have like voting. Something like that doesn't make any fucking
North
sense.
Korea's like, this is why we have the system we have. Because of this.
It's like, yes, I finally realized maybe it's time for a change and my voice needs to be heard after I've seen this dick in my face. Like, what? What?
I need to stand up for what I believe in because I saw Chris Evans.
That's definitely their publicist saying that. Like, Chris, just fucking trust me.
Yeah, you either need to have them donate to that Sarah McLachlan dog shelter foundation or tell people to go vote.
That's not as bad. I was thinking people were like calling like, oh, he shouldn't be in movies anymore, and that's not the case. He should be in movies because
he's getting.
I'm sure.
Never mind.
Hey, you can put your dick and balls on the internet all you want. You can't act. That's where my issue lies.
Yeah, that's why you should be in movies, not because you sent a dick pic. I really don't care.
That's fair. That's the judge and jury we need.
Chris Evans called his publicist up at 2:30 in the morning. He's like, "Yo, I fucked up.
It's like, earn your paycheck right now. My dick's
This
on
is why. This is why I give you 3% of everything I earn."
I wish.
I don't have pictures of my dick on my phone, but we all have like if I
really
show
I have pictures of your dick on my phone.
You gotta see this picture I took the other day, but I gotta like make sure it's like, okay, I don't want them to see these other two I took last week, but okay, yeah, here, this one. Look at this one.
Why would you not just delete the dick pic off of your phone after you take the picture and send it?
Probably because he just worked out. It's veiny as shit. You're proud of that dick.
What I think is worse in the camera.
You gotta look at that dick after Thanksgiving dinner and being like, hey, I gotta get back on track here. I gotta start working. I mean, this is a cheat meal, yeah, but I gotta hit the track tomorrow.
I gotta be September dick, not December dick.
Like, look at me back in September. It was fucking tan and like, look at me now. Just
how is it tan?
White, flabby. Fuck are we doing?
On that super beefy because of the quarantine.
We could have an hour and a half pod on Chris Evans' dick.
I know. That's episode 129.
Listen to it.
That's 129.
It'll probably be our highest listened to episode.
Should we do a bait and switch like the movie The Social Dilemma? I'll title episode 129 Chris Evans' dick conversation, just so people tune in and then we never actually talk about it.
Yeah, awesome.
But I kind of want to talk about it.
Let's talk about how we should have flying cars.
Sex sells, guys. We know this. I mean, it's not news. Matt and I are both marketing majors, so we can attest to that.
I was too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Thinking marine biology.
All right. That was just a hobby.
For episode, what is this? Fucking 128. I'm the Mayor, Jeff Hornacek. Guys, what are your last thoughts? What do you want to leave the people with? Matt, you go first.
Always freeze your eggs. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're talking like the sex ones, and
you never know.
Yeah, chicken eggs too. You never know what's gonna happen.
I'll be honest. If you can't eat a fucking carton of eggs in the time they take to expire, you don't need to be buying eggs. Banner, what do you want to leave the people with, or is it just?
Always pull over for emergency vehicles, guys. Good feel-good story. We had an emergency vehicle coming down the street. I pulled over. Everybody else pulled over as well. It was like parting the Red fucking sea. It was great.
You're a tone setter, man. What you do, people will
They were still 10 minutes late to the fire. Everyone inside died, but we all pulled over. So,
but I am
win.
Yeah. Well, let's focus on me.
It's not my fault the fire truck stopped at the red light.
Yeah, what's that all about? God. I can't top any of that. There was a lot of dick conversation in this episode. I'm actually surprised it took almost 127 episodes for us to devote a whole 10 minutes to a celebrity's penis. I think that's progress, maybe? I don't know.
Long overdue.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could tell. We had
just means we're going to blow our load now.
We've been teasing it since episode 1 that we'd be talking about dicks, and we finally did it.
We kept saying tune in next week for some surreal celebrity dick conversation. Lured you in. All right. For the mad scientist Brian Banner and our enforcer in the paint Matt Geiger, I'm the Mayor Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro 4 Squad podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to us. Follow us on Twitter at Bro 4 Squad. Find us on Letterboxd, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words. And our website is bro4squad.com. Check out all of our old content, all of our current content, and the Bro 4 Squad Hall of Fame. Till next time, please don't let your camera roll. I know mine would be absolute train wreck.
Who has a bigger dick, Hemsworth or Evans?
Yes. At that point, does it matter?
Well, we need to put both in my mouth, and I'll tell you.